hearing about the optimism, it's made me optimistic. So thank you. It's what I needed. I needed my bucket filled. So it's really nice to hear that.
I think it's only the start. I really do. I think we've coined a phrase, the Bendigo model, and we hope to take that to regional Australia, revamp the whole of Australia with new manufacturing initiatives, new incentives for people to actually live and work in regional or rural Australia, new study opportunities and new business opportunities.
Firstly, congratulations to everyone that's been involved in the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival. What a wonderfully successful program of events. It would have been easy to say that this is all too hard, we can't do this, but we came together collectively, we were optimistic about how to go about this, and we produced a wonderfully successful program that's reached a global audience.
Looking at the final numbers, we've just hit under 5,000 sessions booked. We've had 90 plus speakers and we've had 40 plus sessions over the 5 weeks. So someone asked me initially what you were hoping for at the start of the festival, and I said, I'd hope to reach 200 sessions booked. Well, we certainly surpassed that.
I think if we just had an innovation festival in its own right, without the optimism theme, I don't think it would have quite met the mark for this year. But I'm pleased to say that I think it was such a great amalgamation between the Centre of Optimism with yourself, Victor, leading the charge, as that icing of the cake, around the principal festival program.
The first secret to success is to ask yourself and to ask others, what makes you optimistic? The second secret to success has been the smiles. The great habit of an optimist, the smiles that we're seeing, that everyone's expressing, that infectiousness of the smile, the laughter. What exemplifies Australian leadership is self-effacing humour. We take our work seriously, but we laugh at ourselves. And I think those have been the three keys to the success of the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival and the Bendigo Voices of Optimism.
And the theme this year is perfect for the times. Optimism through innovation. I certainly know Victor's been talking about optimism to everyone he can find. I think it's a great thing, the optimism movement. And in a year like this, we need to take whatever optimism we can find and embrace it warmly.
Hi, I'm Rosben Moshe, and on behalf of the Centre for Optimism, I'd like to let you know about the dress code for the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival. Whether you are a presenter or a participant, you are required to wear a smile. Simple as that. Have a wonderful festival.
Hello, I'm Philip Huggins, sending you a message as you take this new initiative with dear Victor. My great-grandfather went looking for gold around Bendigo, did other things thereafter, was resilient with that kind of buoyancy and optimism that's made our country what it is. I was ordained in Bendigo, ordained to be good news as best I can by God's grace. So I have much fondness and appreciation for Bendigo and wish you well. And just one little suggestion that I've found helpful for myself is to try and make every thought and word and action the one that's the most beautiful, the kindest and the truest. And if we make those choices with what we say and think and do, well, we spread a bit of optimism to others. So peace be with you and all the best for this initiative.
So in these optimism cafes and conversations, the most critical question we ask everyone is, what makes you optimistic? So Margaret, may I ask you, what makes you optimistic?
I think for me, Victor, it is inbuilt to me, I have to say. I think I'm an optimistic person anyway, and I always look at a glass half full. It's just how I operate. But I also think that it's something that happens in me, and Mary I'm sure will have seen examples where I get a level of dissatisfaction and my optimism, and that's probably how I would describe it, makes me do something about it. So I tend to then want to make a change and want to look at the possibilities. And so for me, optimism is around those possibilities, looking at options, looking at solutions. And when I do get that level of dissatisfaction, it's very often that I actually step up. It actually makes me step up or lean into a circumstance. And I really do look at that as being part of my makeup, and that optimism is a big part of me.
Damien, the question we ask every person who joins us on this optimism series is, what makes you optimistic? So Damien Wells, what makes you optimistic?
Well, it's a very interesting question, Victor. I think it's the way I'm wired. I think that optimism, where would we be without it? Everything that's been worth doing in the history of humankind has at its core needed to have a key ingredient, which is optimism, the ability to see that there was a way through the particular challenge and that there was going to be a better result on the other side of that particular effort. I love working with other positive and optimistic people. I love seeing, whatever a given challenge might be and working with the team to try to resolve and work our way through that, whether that's a team at work or a team across agencies or a community team. They're the things that make me optimistic. And I think having experiences of positive outcomes and seeing the result of that optimism, things sometimes go better than expected or work out in a different way than expected, but a positive way nonetheless. And even when things don't go fully to plan, we're always learning something, and that really starts to build into future success.
I feel really optimistic just with spring coming, and I think that it kind of it reminds me of Camus, who said that in the midst of the deepest winter, I found within myself an invincible summer.
What makes me optimistic is what has made me optimistic throughout my career, and that is Australian business.
What has made me optimistic, Victor, is the small acts of kindness and generosity and people finding ways to connect.
I really appreciate Paul's optimism. Every session was very good and motivating to the younger generation.
I believe that everyone's got optimism in them. It's just a matter of the people and how you actually bring that out.
What makes me optimistic? Well, I think after that it's Bendigo and the people of Bendigo and the extension of the collaboration of organisations that we've been able to work with and had the privilege to work with over the course of many, many months. So, Victor, you finally got it out of me. That's what makes me optimistic.
What makes me optimistic, I think, is the ability to accept what's happened and quickly dismiss it. And the old line about accept what is, and if you can't do anything about it, accept it.
I've been super impressed from an optimism point of view. Like it's made me hellishly optimistic about the future of things that are happening in Bendigo.
Well, one of the things that's most inspiring to me is the opportunity to continue to learn, right? Continuous learning. That's one of the things that I think are great sources of optimism.
I love the optimism that I've heard today.
Thanks, Victor. And, I've been so pleased to see the way you've really stimulated this sense of optimism across regional Victoria.
The glass half full, but for me that's much more learnt. I think that's learnt behaviour. And I can remember in my very first career, and I was a junior nurse, and I can remember going to my dad and telling him about a situation that I saw in the hospital, which I just thought was wrong, was unjust, was unfair. And my dad saying, well, what are you going to do about it, Missy? And that's so similar to Margie. Who am I going to be in the world? And am I going to be one of the people who keep on lobbing grenades, so to speak, as the worker from the outside? Or how do I grow myself as a leader so I can have a voice that changes and influences the narrative? If I don't like what I see, what am I going to do about it? So, and what makes me optimistic at the moment is at this point in time, I think we have got an opportunity to change the level of consciousness that we're working from as a human species, really, and especially in our young people. Some of our young people, they keep me optimistic because of what their innovation, actually, and what they see is possible for the world, and their intelligence. They are infinitely more intelligent than I am, and some of their willingness and their enthusiasm to be an articulate, intelligent voice for change, for positive change, that actually cares for all of humanity, not just, we're moving beyond just us, just us. So how do we care for all of humanity? So engaging with our younger leaders, I find incredibly inspiring.
I feel a little jealous of all this optimism and innovation in Bendigo, because in Latrobe Valley, where I am, we have been deemed the innovation zone of Australia and Victoria. So I feel like just transporting you all and bringing you down here to create this joy and optimism and recovery, through innovation and invention.
I'm Victor Perton, and this is the final event for the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival 2020. And it has been renamed the Bendigo International Invention and Innovation Festival because, here's a group of people who normally meet in an industrial hall and work their way through an agenda. But by working on an unfamiliar platform online, they increased the registrations 1,000%, tenfold the number of people involved, speakers from around the world, participants from San Diego, from Denver, from Seattle, through to Denmark, Paris, London, and every part of Australia. And, the city of Greater Bendigo showed extraordinary vision in trusting us to use this environment and trusting us to make the theme optimism. And as it grew, Bendigo's voices of optimism, the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, the Minister for Innovation, the head of banks, the head of companies, primary school children, expressing their optimism and their confidence in the future of Bendigo and the future of the world. And it's been such an honour and a privilege for me. Now, Alison McKenzie, who's online with us, she said, my job is to give you a long and turgid speech on the habits of optimism and how to become optimistic. What I'm going to say in a few words is, the secret to success was asking every speaker what makes you optimistic. And every moderator stuck to the discipline. And to hear these speeches, to hear the expressions of optimism, the head of Bendigo Health talking about the innovation, the incubator they've got for new health initiatives, it was just extraordinary. So the first secret to success is to ask yourself and to ask others what makes you optimistic. The second secret to success has been the smiles. The great habit of an optimist, and as I can't see all of you on screen at the moment, but I will shortly, the smiles that we're seeing, that everyone's expressing, that infectiousness of the smile, the laughter. What exemplifies Australian leadership is self-effacing humour. We take our work seriously, but we laugh at ourselves. And I think those have been the three keys to the success of the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival and the Bendigo Voices of Optimism. Sure, we've made mistakes. We had the Festival of Failure. We celebrated failure and mistakes. But the most important thing is we laughed at ourselves, we smiled at each other, and we shared optimism and innovation. And so what I'd like to do now is throw to my friend, Paul Chapman, the chairman of the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival, and ask him number one, what makes him optimistic, but number two, what were the keys to success? And then he's got a bottle of wine. He tells me it's too early to drink from it, but I'm going to ask him to propose a toast to all of us for our optimism and success. Paul Chapman, over to you.
For sure. Thank you, Victor. You are a champion. There's no doubt about it. Now, I woke up this morning and I said to myself, and looked out the window, and it's a beautiful sunrise, and it's turned out to be a beautiful day. And I thought to myself, how apt is that after what we've just been through and been able to put on with the help of so many people. And I'm seeing people on the screen here, not everybody at once, but seeing them that everybody has contributed. What a great feeling. And I thought to myself, I thought, this is like winning the grand final. Just like winning the grand final. You've done it. You don't know how to celebrate, but you feel really, really, really good that you've done it. And when we started this, and I had the blessed fortune of meeting Victor when he rang me one day and he said, listen, Chapman, I think you might fit in with this mob. Come down here for a meeting and we're going to have a talk about optimism. It coincided with exactly the same time that we were asked to chair the festival this year and something together that might be a little bit different. Well, thanks everybody. Been wonderful. We've heard not only all of those great stories and those great presentations and contributions from everybody during the festival, but around that, the work that's been done has been extraordinary. As we said, Alison McKenzie there, who deep down is a very big bully when it comes to pushing people around. I did have a 1 hour speech ready today and she cut it back to 2 minutes. So, Alison, you've done a great job along with Laura and Emma and who else we got? Lauren, Paula. So it's been fantastic. I'm going to also throw to a few people. I want to make sure, Victor, everybody is smiling. And nothing better than the smile. I'm an old publican, and without a doubt, that's what you wanted to see. When people walked in, we had this little old saying in the pubs, and we apply it in business now. Make sure that people leave feeling better than when they walked in. And I have no doubt this is a great feeling like that. What makes me optimistic? A million things, Victor, a million things. Today, it's people. We've heard stories from hope about hope, from hope and health, wisdom and wealth, farming, everything we could think of. Religion, meditation, which I'm not very good at. All of those things have been part of it. And I can see people on the screen which have just enthused you. I've got one bloke on my screen at the moment, James Freemantle, and he was a great speaker. He delivered the most beautiful speech on the day. And, I've got Rob Masters there. Rob, come on, give us a couple of minutes of your time and tell us what you thought of this fantastic event. I can't help but laugh, to tell you the truth. I can't help but laugh. I just love it. So I'll go quiet.
Thank you, Paul. Well, I know why you're smiling, because it has been such a great success, and I'll just talk about that in a minute. But I believe that everyone's got optimism in them. It's just a matter of the people and how you actually bring that out. And we're seeing that in Bendigo, and I'm so pleased for you and what has actually been achieved. But I think it's only the start. I really do. I think we've coined a phrase, the Bendigo model, and we hope to take that to regional Australia, revamp the whole of Australia with new manufacturing initiatives, new incentives for people to actually live and work in regional and rural Australia, new study opportunities and new business opportunities. And most of all, innovation is the key to what Australia is all about. And I noticed just recently on the Happiness Index, it's a global study, fascinating study of throughout the world, countries, cities, people, and Australia is not up on the top. So we've got a long way to go. I think we're around 17 or 18, and I'd like to see it up higher. And I think the initiatives that Bendigo has started and what has been put into all of that is really the so-called, as I said, the model for the rest of Australia to lift itself. So well done, Paul, and well done everyone who's participated in it. It is a great initiative. Now, I think the most important thing is Alison's got some insights as to what are the habits of optimists. So I'll hand it over to Alison to tell us a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ro. I'm not sure about the habits of optimists, but I'm certainly happy to share a few standouts from the festival. And Rob, you're right. We see innovation as the key driver for the future economy, and that was one of the impetuses behind the festival as well. And in terms of reflection on the festival, for us, it's around the messaging and the rich content from our keynote speakers on innovation, not only within our region, but also nationally and internationally, and what we're doing well, particularly in advanced manufacturing and mining and the education sectors as well. Secondly, it's the relationships that we're able to build with our keynote speakers and our sponsors and our executive committee. I know a lot of them are here today, and their respective organisations, and the collaborative effort across many organisations in bringing this festival to life. So that includes you, Victor, and the relationship that we've built over many months with the Centre for Optimism, and we're thrilled that you've been such an important and big part of the festival. This has also led to many corporations looking to align with us both this year and next year. So we're pretty excited on the strong foundations that we've been able to build. On a personal note, boy, the obstacles that we've had to overcome have been big to be able to bring the festival to life, particularly with COVID-19 and having to pivot the festival not only once, but not twice, but 3 times. Is that right, Paul? from a fully physical model to a hybrid model to what ended up being our virtual model. The incredible talent of a very small but dedicated team of people, which was ably led by Paul, but includes Emma Nielsen, Paula Hubert and Laura Tangi, who I know are also on the call. Looking at the final numbers, we're just hit under 5,000 sessions booked. We've had 90 plus speakers and we've had 40 plus sessions over the 5 weeks. So someone asked me initially what you were hoping for at the start of the festival, and I said, I'd hope to reach 200 sessions booked. Well, we certainly surpassed that. Finally, it's the endorsements, and Victor, you mentioned the endorsements from the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Labor Party leader, Anthony Albanese, and Tanya Plibersek, along with a myriad of other politicians. We're so thrilled with the traction and the publicity that the BIF has brought to our city, to the city of Bendigo, and what it's been able to do in strengthening our brand of the city. So what makes me optimistic? Well, I think after that, it's Bendigo and the people of Bendigo and the extension of the collaboration of organisations that we've been able to work with and had the privilege to work with over the course of many, many months. So, Victor, you finally got it out of me. That's what makes me optimistic.
It's taken a while, but my favourite quote took a neuroscientist 14 months of thinking. So you've only taken a couple of weeks, Alison. James Freemantle, are you ready to share what really exemplified the festival to you and what makes you optimistic? After your speech, Paul rang me and said, you got to listen to this one. So tell us how you feel, James.
Thank you, Victor. I wasn't expecting to speak today, but I appreciate the interactivity. Similar to Paul, I feel really optimistic just with spring coming, and I think that it kind of feels, it reminds me of Camus, who said that in the midst of the deepest winter, I found within myself an invincible summer. And when spring has started to come after this, what has been a really challenging winter for lots of people, well, globally, really, it's so good to see new life happening around us. Lambs being born, which are looking delicious, I must say. The garden is blooming. There's life everywhere, and it reminds me of talking to Chappie, actually. Just about well, not just about, every time I talk to Paul Chapman, I come away with a smile on my face, and that, to me, that's all about that optimism, which is contagious.
Today, the news of this event, Alison, it's come out of Sydney, it's in newspapers in Wollongong, and one of my favourite friends in business development and economic development, Deirdre Wilmot, the former head of the Western Australian Chamber of Commerce and now a resident of Wood End just down the road, is joining us to again, talk about the success of this festival, but also what makes her optimistic as well. Deirdre.
Hi, Victor. Thank you. And thank you so much for the invitation. As everybody's been talking, I've been thinking what makes me optimistic is what has made me optimistic throughout my career, and that is Australian business. I've worked very closely with West Australian business, but also with Victorian business when I was a senior executive of the Melbourne Commonwealth Games. And I think just the innovation, the passion, the ability to come up with new ideas, find new markets. And I think now with people embracing the technology that we have and the new ways of communications, I look at our relationships with ASEAN. I'm on the board of the Perth US Asia Centre, which looks at strategic and trade relationships in the Indo-Pacific and with the United States. And you think, how are we going to maintain relationships when we can't travel to each other's countries? But what we've seen is people embracing technology, and I think we're communicating and building relationships like we never have before. And we're just going to see 1,000 flowers bloom over the next few years. I think the Australian government's focus on manufacturing is exactly right and exactly where it needs to be. I've been absolutely passionate about the capability of Australian industry and quite despairing that it hasn't been centre of our political and policy focus, but I think we're now where we are, so we will see that capability matched by a belief in that capability. I have been able to move back to Melbourne as I joined the board of Australia Post, and so I think there's absolutely a role for Australia Post to help match up particularly early stage innovators and manufacturers with those markets across the ASEAN region as we diversify our markets as well as our supply chains. So Victor, all those things make me really optimistic, and I love Bendigo industry. Hoffman Engineering are a West Australian firm, and they are amazing members of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry and in the defence industry space. And so I've been following their fortunes in Bendigo for many years, and it's just wonderful to be able to join you all today. Thank you, Victor.
Well, Deirdre, you summarised it, didn't you? This week, the Bendigo Manufacturing Group has announced its members are going to invest $300 million. And, that's the optimism and the private sector at work.
Yeah, well, I've known Paul for a few years now, and I must say every encounter is an absolute delight. Every chance to talk to him, to catch up with him, honestly gives me sunshine, or gives me a great mood. Brings positivity in my life. It's contagious, it's unstoppable, it's like hurricane, a hurricane that you want to be part of. So I just wanted to say that we should have more Pauls in our lives, all of us. He's such a champion of Bendigo, everything Bendigo, you know, the Bendigo business community, the Bendigo as a city, the Bendigo as a broader community. I think he's just amazing ambassador for Bendigo in general. So good on you, Paul. Keep doing what you're doing. I think you are inspiration for all of us.
What's amazing is that Australian Turntable, its partnerships, they're one of the most valued companies at the University of California, LA. You know, the kids are lining up in the MBA course to work with the Chapmans here in Bendigo. So it's amazing. So look, I'm going to draft 2 other people before I do the really wild open mic. My friend Rod Wade is in San Diego. He has attended, I think, at least a dozen of the sessions of the conference. And then I want to throw to you, Kathy, the queen of digital innovation. But Rod, what have you seen of Bendigo and what's inspired you?
Well, one of the things that's most inspiring to me is the opportunity to continue to learn, right? Continuous learning. That's one of the things that I think are great sources of optimism, to learn new things. And the variety, the sheer scope and variety, able to sit in and learn about the mining business in Australia, near Bendigo, within Victoria, and hear about the efforts being made to use technology, but not replace people with machines, but train people how to use machines and to therefore minimize the footprint on the earth. The young people who did some of the STEM presentations on technology in terms of the ability to learn programming and to create enthusiasm among, you know, even younger attendees about the opportunities and the things you can do. Just remarkable. Agriculture, the science, you know, from bee-bots to everything else that was there to see, and discussions that I was able to engage in about, you know, the kind of eco dependent farming, where it's trying to put symbiotic plants, vegetables, and trees together to again maximize output, but again minimize the footprint, you know, in terms of water use and soil erosion. I mean, you could just go on and on about the level of education. 2 things. One, I got to tell you, it's when you want to talk about changing behavior and recognizing people and how important that is in this day and age, it may seem like a small thing, but I'm always encouraged by every opening where the speakers acknowledge the indigenous populations. It may seem like a little thing, but I find it so respectful and so encouraging. So there's optimism to me that there is that kind of understanding, and that you serve as a wonderful model in Australia to that kind of recognition and understanding. So put that all together. I don't know, Victor. I just keep tuning in because you think, oh, it can't get any better, and it just keeps getting better. And I want to say that to Alison and the team, Paul, everybody, that I put in the comments, you know, the hope for the hybrid in the future, right? We want to get back together. We want to open up at some point when it makes sense and it's safe and we can do that. And look for those hybrid opportunities, because your ability to attract so many people from all over the world to be able to participate, not to have to be there in person, but there is that desire to be able to make that local too. So just an outstanding job. And when you talk about optimism, that underpinning of optimism was present in everything I saw. And it's just wonderful. So congratulations. I can't wait for next time around. You know, I'm not a novice at this. I did Queensland University of Technology seminar, which was, again, fantastic. You guys are doing a lot of unbelievable things there. Victor knows how I feel about him. He's wonderful. He supports me in my endeavors as well. So he's all over the world doing these same things too, as well as Robert. And I just thank you so much.
And one of the things I picked up from yesterday's Prime Minister's announcement was logistics as one of the centerpieces of the new manufacturing strategy. So Rod, you could bring on your old IACCM members, the World Commerce and Contracting, and Deirdre, you know, with your board membership at Australia Post, You know, Paul and Alison, I think, you know, supply chains might be a really big part of Bendigo's continuing leadership. Now, Kathy, the Queen of Digital, what did you see, and what exemplified the optimism of this festival and Voices of Optimism for you, Kathy?
Thanks, Victor. And, you know, I've been so pleased to see the way you've really stimulated this sense of optimism across regional Victoria. And it's amazing and it's exciting to see regional Victoria really sort of lift the state out of our, you know, doom and gloom and provide a real sense of a positive future. When we did the Digital Innovation Festival, which Biff was part of as well. And when we were planning for that, there were some people that sort of said, look, this is not the time to be doing this kind of thing. You can't hold it physically, and really, you know, everyone's having a difficult time. Let's not do this. And we thought, no, that is not the right approach. This is a time to think about how do we cope with this? How do we reimagine our businesses, our connections with people? And we pointed to Biff, as Alison said, yes, pivoting, but holding the line, sticking the course, and really put on the most fantastic festival, engaging people, and really at this difficult time, I think really providing a sense of a positive future, that we can do this. And it reminded me that over my years of in the trade space, I used to take a lot of trade missions overseas, and people overseas would say to me, you know, what we recognize about Victorian companies and people is this culture of problem solving. And I think that what we've seen over this, as was said, this very difficult winter that we've been through, there's been a lot of problem solving, and those problems have utilized technology and really been supported by connections with people through things like this BIF festival. So I really congratulate Bendigo on a wonderful effort. A wonderful festival, really, if I can say, just on the production side, like really well produced. I thought it was super engaging, the sessions that I went to, and that helps. Showed us all a new way of doing things. So well done. I'm optimistic for the way we will have an innovation-led recovery, I believe. And I think a lot of that will come out of a renewed spirit of innovation and optimism in regional Victoria. So thanks, Bendigo, for that contribution.
And I think that V-shaped recovery, Kathy, will owe a lot to you and to the SMEs that exemplify, you know, the Bendigo economy and the Australian economy in general. Some wonderful messages out there. Michelle Turk, optimism is part of regional culture. Jeff Kerbell, Bendigo and friends have rejected doom and gloom. But now can I call upon Melissa to tell us what she found in this festival and to express her optimism.
Thanks very much, Victor. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I guess when we originally went into this whole situation with COVID, optimism probably wasn't the first thing on our minds. Let's face it. I don't think anyone would have had smiles plastered all over their faces. But I think that optimism has built over time. I mean, first of all, you have somebody like Paul who, you know, as soon as he starts talking, people can't stop smiling. So he is infectious and contagious. And if we could put him out there with COVID, we'd have solved the problem, right? So I think that's the cure. But what has made me optimistic, Victor, is the small acts of kindness and generosity and people finding ways to connect. I remember when Lauren and Alison and the team were helping with the production of the the talk that I gave on leadership, I was amazed at how the company that was doing the production, they pivoted from events, and overnight they pivoted to doing digital productions, and they were just so professional. And the young man who helped me was saying, oh, you know, your internet speed isn't fast enough or slow enough. He was just so professional. Little things like that. And then, you know, one of my team members was going crazy with 2 kids and no childcare and trying to work with you know, anyone who's got small children under age 5, it's not possible to work with small children running around. And then, you know, one of my other team members reaching out and sending her a cake. All of these things are what make us optimistic and make us realize that, you know, as human beings, and particularly as Australians and particularly Bendigoans, we're a bloody tough lot, and it's not going to be easy to keep those turkeys getting at us. So I think it'll take more than COVID to beat the likes of the folks from Bendigo.
Melissa, and you exemplified it, didn't you? The laughter, the smiles. I mean, everyone, when I look at the gallery view, everyone is just with you, Melissa. Now, Ben, what are you going to tell us? Share your optimism, share the ingenuity and the innovation. Love to hear from you, Ben.
Thanks, Victor. Yeah, thanks for dropping me in it here. I wasn't expecting to get a spot. Well, what I think I have to, you know, I don't want to pump up Dad's tyres anymore. You know, it's not what we do. He comes and tells me how great he is a couple of times a day, which is, you know, it's yeah, it's something I look forward to each day. But so it is, yeah, it is nice to actually hear some other people say some nice things about him. It makes me think that maybe he's not too bad. But I don't know about the people who think that we should have more Pauls. That's but in truth, no, it's great to have the optimism and you know, just hearing from Dad the stories in the background have been fantastic. But I must also reference him. He told me a quote once that I've always really enjoyed, and that's the Dalai Lama. And people have asked the Dalai Lama, why are you so optimistic about so many things? And he replied, it just feels better. And I think that's a really smart approach to life. And I think it's a much better way. We've got plenty of things that we can be miserable about. There's lots of things, but to choose to be optimistic is a really smart choice. And, you know, when I look at my young kids and the opportunities that are available and the opportunities to do great things as the human race progresses is amazing, you know, and if you can just see those opportunities for what they are, they might be difficult challenges, but they're really opportunities to make the world a better place. So they're the sort of things that make me optimistic. And you know, even through this time when we entered into this COVID period, as one of the managing team in the business, I was certainly wondering how the hell are we going to get through this? What the hell is going to happen here? What's been incredible, and we've been one of the lucky ones, is that we've managed our way through. We're okay. It's been tough, but we're fine. And we're going to continue. We'll come out of this stronger, and so that's certainly, there's a lot of positives to take out of periods like this, and to be able to, you know, and even people who are doing a bit tougher, you get knocked down, but to get back up again, and you get up stronger, and so no, there's plenty of things that we're optimistic about, and you know, prefer that it's gone. Certainly prefer that COVID's not around, but it's been a hell of an experience to go through.
I'm going to ask you another question, but while I'm thinking of that question, I want Nathan to have a bit of a think about saying something about the circular economy, Laura to say something brilliant on Bendigo, Noreen to talk about the habits of the optimist, And the rest of you start throwing up your hands and using the reaction button with the love heart. Now, Ben, when I tell the story of Australian Turntable, I tell people about revolving restaurants in Azerbaijan and Iran and, you know, the fan club at UCLA. So tell us, what is the next exotic destination for one of your Australian turntables?
Well, we often say we're trying to do the axis of evil. So we're hoping for North Korea as the next destination. We've been into Iran, been to Iraq. They're a little bit easy. So yeah, North Korea we think might be the next destination. But no, it's amazing. The opportunities for us are growing around the world. And I don't know, man. I don't know where we're going to end up next, to tell you the truth. But we're certainly reaching out there, and it's been interesting to see the growth of the company. You know, when we first went to Iran, I remember going there with Dad, and I was terrified. And I'm on the plane thinking, what the hell are we doing? But when we got there, all we found was really nice people who love their families and just want to make some money and support their families. And it was amazing. It was certainly scary, but it certainly opened our eyes to listen, the opportunities to meet new people from new cultures was the most thing we got out of that. But it was funny during the negotiations. So, you know, I'm not a very smart person, but we will do things. You know, we'll have a crack at things and see what happens. So all the advice in the world would be not to go to Iran and do a project. But we thought, oh, well, let's go and have a look. During the negotiation, Paul and I are sitting around the table with these very clever, experienced construction and experienced in negotiation, and we took the view that, listen, you guys have been negotiating and trading for thousands and thousands of years. We're not here to try and trick you, right? We're just going to be honest and upfront. And we did get the feedback that was actually that kind of put them off their game a little bit, because they thought, what is wrong with these people? You know, all they want to do is talk about other stuff. You know, like we were too easy to deal with, and they thought that was some weird strategy that we were bringing into the game. So there's been a lot of great experience. So we'd go to anywhere in the world because you're going to meet great people, no matter where
Then you exemplify it. I still remember the Russian finance minister saying to me, I never die wondering what you'll think, Victor. And I think you exemplified. Aussies are just open. Now, look, my mate Nathan Pitkin's online. He is doing amazing things trying to develop the circular economy in utilities, to much skepticism and depth of antipathy. So Nathan, how are you going with the circular economy and using optimism as the tool to get into the circular economy?
Well, it's very much in its infancy. We've got our sort of initial report together, and we've put it to the exec. And I'm not sure, has it made it up to the board yet, Victor? Have you got?
Well, without disclosing things, yes, I have seen your report.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Yeah, that's great. Look, the key thing that we've looked at is that in order to sort of really take steps with this is to try and get everybody on board. And the best way that we're going to do that is by an internal engagement program that is going to be based on optimism and understanding where these opportunities are and that we can make a difference.
You are amazing. No, what you are doing is fantastic. And I know that Paul and Ben and others are certainly part of that ecosystem and will be allies of yours, and Deirdre and Robert as well. Now, Laura, tell us more about Bendigo Optimism.
Hi, well, I recently moved back to Bendigo, having grown up here, so it has changed completely in the 20 years I've been away. It's a real growth area now, and I'm glad I'm back. This festival has just been amazing. I've had friends from all over the world tune in and have a look, so it's been really great. So I'm optimistic that Bendigo is going to keep growing and growing.
And remember, we did that 30-second video from the mayor on LinkedIn. It set off 18 essays by people on why they moved to Bendigo, including the guy who'd moved from New Zealand by mistake and stayed because of the optimism.
That's
so
right.
you exemplify that.
Mm.
Now, my Irish Australian friend, Noreen, she is now the queen of the habits of the optimist. What habits have you observed in Bendigo over the last month, Noreen?
Oh, listen, where do I start? First of all, Bendigo has a special place in my heart because my boys play a lot of tennis. So you have an amazing tennis culture down there, and you have a fantastic competition. So I've sampled your local food, your hospitality. So I have a very special place in my heart for Bendigo. That's first and foremost. Secondly, I just think I'm looking here now today and thinking, my goodness, which habit don't you have? You smile, you laugh. Paul, you seem to be the king of optimism down in Bendigo. And you're infectiously optimistic, which I think is the real way to spread optimism around the world, actually. So I see many optimists, and I see you guys as a sample and an inspiration for us all. The habits of an optimist, which we're doing with Victor, are, I think it's very timely. It's very timely. We're going to have laugh, smile, think, ask each other what makes you optimistic, and so on and so forth. It's going to be a fun course. And it's going to be available for everyone, actually. It's going to be a course that everyone can do, and hopefully it'll make everyone feel a little bit more brighter and lighter as they navigate the world that we're currently in. So, I hope you'll all enjoy it when it comes out. Thank you.
Now, my friend Jeff Kerbel looks like like the Dalai Lama in that picture, I think, with the beacon there. But before I come to you, Jeff, there's a question for you, Paul. Paul Chapman. Your fans want to know, you've had such incredible success in Bendigo. Now, Bendigo, is getting there. How are you going to spread this infection of modern manufacturing and optimism to the rest of the country and through Ben, even to dark places like North Korea?
Well, we'll do it by being natural, Victor, like Benny said, and we have got some extraordinary movement in the background to take this festival to other cities, particularly those cities with a manufacturing base already. I can't help but think of a little story when I was coaching a footy club in a town of a population of 120. And after that, ended up buying the pub and had probably 5 of the best years of my life.
Do you remember any of those 5 years, though?
Oh, no. I don't remember many night times, that's for sure. Anyway, coaching the footy club, I thought I was pretty important, and it's not my nature to think like that. Has been coaching the footy club, I went up to that. I was talking one day to the president, who's now since departed, Mickey Morgan, and I said to Mick, "This is the best footy club and the best community I've ever been in." I said, "What is the secret, Mick?" And he says, "Chappie," he says, "the first thing we do is we don't take any notice of the football coach." He said, "You're not important." He said, "The most important person in our footy club is the baby in the pram. And the baby in the pram, if he and she's looked after, mum's happy. If mum's happy, grandma and grandma's happy, and if grandma and mum are happy, the boys are going to have a good time." So it was just such a lesson to learn about community. And what we've got in this festival, Victor, and to your credit, we've been able to build a community that people feel good in. And that goodness can be taken somewhere else, and not only in Australia. Not only in Australia. It can go anywhere. And if we can play a little part in that, and Bendigo gets recognised, then all the better. I've got to tell you one final story is, and I am waiting on someone to come back to me give us a quote on optimism, and that is about 5 months ago I wrote to the Dom. But he hasn't come back yet. I'm getting emails every day from the White House, but he hasn't come back to me saying, "Good on you." So there's an optimist for you.
If he wins, I'm sure he is going to come back. Jeff Kerbell next, and Anne Brosnan, can I call on you? Because you've been writing such wisdom in the commentaries, you're going to have to express it on video. But Jeff Kerbell, what did you enjoy the most, and what's made you the most optimistic coming out of the festival and the Voices of Optimism?
Well, I think, thank you, Paul, for that, because as president of what we call football, a soccer club, I can certainly say that that sentiment of the baby in the pram is the most important, and is a fantastic one. I think what I love, just on the screenshot there, that's Cape Reinga, the place of my birth, and the most northernmost place in New Zealand. So if anyone was wondering. And I think for me, the festival really, and the idea of the optimism and taking it to the world, and the really, like I said in the comment, rejecting the doom and gloom, rejecting the things that are bringing everybody down, and inspiring young people. To me, that's giving people the optimism, not hope. It's not hope. It's not empty. It's not sort of something you wish for. Optimism is about creating the future. And what I love about what the festival has done is really highlight that optimism is grounded in reality, that Bendigo is doing things for people, inspiring young people, that there are opportunities in regional Australia. There are opportunities in manufacturing. And look, that optimism is flowing back into the cities. It's inspiring younger people that innovation and manufacturing, that there is possibilities for growth. And it's about taking the bull by the horns and creating that. So that's what I've really loved about Bendigo Festival, is the opportunity to make connections between young people and the future. And that's been fantastic.
Yeah, and you're doing it all day, every day, Jeff. Just, you know, what you've pulled off in what I call soccer, you know, when the other clubs all around you have shut down operations and you've kept going, you're like Paul and Alison and the team and Margaret O'Rourke and others who said, let's keep going. You know, we're not going to stop because of COVID. We're going to create something new. Now, Anne, you know, you've been inspired and you are inspiring. Share with us what were the best moments for you and what makes you optimistic.
Well, Paul and I have travelled for a little while on a journey, and then we had a little hiccup and then we re-engaged. So I think the optimism for our young people is crucial. I also want to celebrate Paul, because quite often people don't give feedback. Feedback from Paul is absolutely crucial in the way he maintains connections. He might ring you on a Sunday to debrief and ask your advice. His network is global. I think too, what we saw across the month is that Bendigo is also global, and we're all connected 24 hours a day. Any minute little interaction matters, and you never quite know where that interaction might go. But I think particularly making sure we're optimistic for our young people, those leaving year 12, those in year 7 going through to year 12, young people need to know there's a future for them.
Geoffrey Graham, what about you? What are your best moments and what makes you optimistic?
Hi, yeah, look, I'm sorry, I must admit, terribly, I missed a lot of the festival, and I'm just through circumstances and hospitals and so on, but what makes me optimistic, I think, is the ability to accept what's happened and quickly dismiss it. And the old line about accept what is, and if you can't do anything about it, accept it. I'm an entertainer, and so I lost all my work very, very quickly. But I saw that as a great opportunity to help a brother who had Alzheimer's, and to concentrate on a lot of other study and so on. Then my car blew up, my van blew up, and I thought, well, I don't need the van because I've got no work anyway. So after a while, you can find the optimistic attitude to whatever has happened to you. And then you realise it's already been spoken about, that there are so many people worse off, and the thousands of small business people in Melbourne. And I had a small business many years ago in Melbourne, and which I lost, and my house and everything else. So I feel very empathetic to the people in Melbourne and anywhere who have businesses that have got to go out the back door, because to start again is really difficult. But the optimism I can see today is just staggering, and it's really inspiring me to be more optimistic. And someone else also mentioned the little things. And if I can leave you with a very small story, I was up at Kiama helping my brother out, and a lady came into the surgery. I was getting some more stitches taken out of my body. And she was complaining because she didn't have she couldn't buy anything at the supermarket for half an hour. And she said, I only got half an hour for lunch. And I said, what did you want? And she said, a can of creamed corn. Now, she worked in the medical thing. So after I had my stitches out, I went to the supermarket and I came back with a can of creamed corn. And I gave it to her, and she was just absolutely hit the roof and very emotional. And then I got emotional, and I'm feeling emotional thinking about it now, but it's such a small thing from my part. But for her, it was obviously a big thing. And I think if everybody had those little things, those little moments to infect everybody with optimism, it would be a fantastic place.
Well, Chris Stoltz has just sent us a connection from the train to Wood End. He says it's a lousy connection, but I'm optimistic and inspired by what we've seen and heard over the past few weeks, and picking up what you said, Geoffrey, especially where people have made something out of adversity. Just incredible. Hey, now listen, we're up to the 50-minute mark, and Alison's going to make me play a video at the end, and Paul Chapman, you've got to propose a toast. So I've got Mark Smith who's going to say something. Anyone else, can you just wave your hand if you want to add something? Otherwise, we'll talk to Mark, have a toast from Paul Chapman, and then we'll play the video. Does that suit everyone? Thumbs up, good. Mark Smith.
Thanks,
now, by the way, one of the great things about Mark Smith is it doesn't matter what I tweet, what I put out on LinkedIn, he is always there adding something positive, and I love that about you, Mark.
Luke, it's great to be here, and yeah, great to hear so many stories over the past month with the BIF, and it's just the amazing work that's been put into it. So the committee, Paul, Emma, Alison, Victor, the whole lot, it's just been great. And one of the things that makes me optimistic is really making sure that you're forward focused. So focusing on the good things that are happening, celebrating the successes, making sure that yeah, you do get some negative things at times, but remember they're just challenges that we're trying to solve. There's also many businesses out there doing some creative and amazing things, and so we've really got to focus on those items as well. I joined Australian Turntables 3.5 months ago now, and I'd heard so many good things about them, and now I've been able to witness it firsthand, and it's really exciting, and it's great to be here on board. And there's lots of things happening in the background that's yeah, just really proud of the way that the team are doing things, and really excited about what that future might bring. And going through COVID has been very interesting, but coming out of it, we've been able to focus on what things we're going to need once COVID's finished, and yeah, doing a lot of work on that background information. And we've got a new website coming up in a couple of weeks' time. The marketing material is being developed. So yes, it's really a great thing. For me, it was also around, for my optimism, is surrounding myself with like-minded people and people who are happy, and that's where Paul fits in really well, because he is always optimistic, and he's always got a smile. He always makes you laugh. He makes you think as well. He's always setting these little challenges and little quizzes and things. He sends me a message, and I've got to try and work out what he means. And yeah, it's just great. Just remember that laughing is infectious. Enthusiasm is felt by everyone. And smile often as you can, because that makes people wonder what the hell you're thinking and what you're doing. And continue to share good stories. And just on my last thing, yes, I agree that Nathan Pitkin's jumper does not make us optimistic.
Mark, you exemplify everything. Now, Michelle Turk says, look, she's got lots of kids' noise behind her at the moment, so she doesn't want to come on video, but she says, optimism is part of my every day. I try in every way to share that with my co-workers and friends in all my communications. I love this Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival initiative. It is truly fantastic, and I can't wait to see more or get involved. So, Alison, I think picking up what Mark said, I don't think we should wait till next year. I think we should have little gatherings, maybe monthly or whatever, to make sure of that. So now it's 10:55. People have got to go. People have been wonderful. Paul, can I throw to you? Anyone I've missed out, you grab them, but I want you to propose a toast to your community of optimists, your friends, your fans, everyone who's been with you. We just love and adore you, and we want you to propose the final toast to the end of the festival.
Thank you, Victor, and I'm embarrassed by what everybody has said, but thank you very much. Since I've been able to work from home and got kicked out of the office, this is becoming more infrequent, so I'm quite happy with that. At 11 o'clock in the morning. To everybody, my heartfelt thanks and congratulations for what's been achieved. It's been a team effort with Victor, with all of your listeners and all of your viewers who contributed somewhere along the line in promoting an optimistic attitude for the challenge it faces. We knew right at this very start of this festival that all we had to do was remind people that how good they are, how resilient they are, and just tell them how they can innovate. So it wasn't very difficult to connect the dots between innovation and feeling better. Congratulations, everybody. It's been a wonderful, wonderful event, and I'm sure with the success of the event, we'll be talking again very soon. Congratulations, and thank you very, very much.
Well, that's the end of the formal proceedings, and Alison has prepared an absolutely beautiful video. You can watch for 5 minutes or you can watch for the 15, and Paul and I and Alison will still be online at the end of it. But thank you for joining us, and we will reconvene this community of optimists on many occasions over the decades ahead, because as Anne said and Paul said, those little babies in the prams are where we're getting started on this.
Firstly, congratulations to everyone that's been involved in the Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival. What a wonderfully successful program of events. It would have been easy to say that this is all too hard, we can't do this, but we came together collectively, we were optimistic about how to go about this, and we produced a wonderfully successful program that's reached a global audience. So, a can-do attitude, well done to everyone that's been involved, fantastic effort, and congratulations to you all. In a regional city like Bendigo, we have to have a plan, we have to come together and work together. We've got a vision to be the world's most livable community, and we've got a plan to get there. In more recent times, that's been challenged. We've had lots of hurdles put in our way, but we've come together, we've worked together as leaders in our community, as businesses, as individuals, to try and make a difference, to get through those obstacles and to come through the other side. And I think we're getting there because of that attitude, that positive approach, the can-do. We will get there. There are many people hurting, there's businesses hurting, there's individuals hurting, but we will come through this together. And it's a great example of a community that works together in adversity. So we can do, we will do, and we'll get to the other side of this, and we'll make it happen together, and we will be the world's most livable community, and will be a great city that people want to be in. That's my approach. Be optimistic, be positive, and we'll get through this. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to speak with you at the end of our extraordinary Bendigo Innovation and Invention Festival. What has turned out to be an extraordinary time. And I'd like to tell you how things panned out. Well, it was January 2020, and it was time to talk planning for the 10-year anniversary of our Bendigo Invention and Innovation Festival. The event has over the years encouraged and rewarded inventions and innovations across a whole range of sectors, from farming to communication to industry to health, and many, many other industries. It's also connected community, industry, as I said, education and government by showcasing the tremendous ideas that kids, farmers, tinkerers, educators, business owners, mums, dads, and even doctors came up with to improve a product or a process that touched their lives. And many of them, over that time, have gotten to market. The executive committee to plan the 2020 event was organised and we got down to work. Now, innovation is a word used freely and we hear it every day. So it was always the intention to create a point of difference with BIF, with similar events around the world by theming the occasion and ensuring it was relevant to the city of Greater Bendigo's and indeed Australia's very busy event calendar. The Bendigo region has 3 or 4 major employer sectors, including education, health, manufacturing and financial services. All of those sectors are inextricably linked, and Bendigo has always made things. The challenges at the start, well, the committee decided to focus on the manufacturing and education sectors and weaving in the others, knowing that by changing the perception of manufacturing, along with connecting our schools, colleges and university, then we could inspire people to build on our own strengths in our own backyards. And as fate has had, at the very same time of us theming the 2020 event, I personally was invited to join a small group of people in Melbourne who wanted to also remind everyone affected by the fires to be resilient and strong, believe in themselves and their communities, and most of all, be positive. This small group was the early beginnings of the Centre for Optimism, organised by the indomitable Victor Perton. So, on reflection, we knew we had the purpose. We had our purpose. We just needed to connect manufacturing, education and optimism. And it all fell into place and our theme was born. Optimism through innovation was created. But that didn't avoid any challenges. We've actually had 3 iterations of this event, and we thought in version 1, let's put on a free 5-day event with speakers, interactors, face-to-face, humour and plenty of networking for the public and our community to enjoy and show them the extraordinary innovations and inventions happening in Australia. We planned sessions, dinners, forums, sponsorship gatherings, programs at the Capital and Delumbra, in schools and businesses and industry tours and farm tours, wineries, to see the incredible stuff happening in our rural enterprises, as well as in our cities. But then we had a visit by someone called Mr. COVID around February or March, who we thought might leave town early. No problem, we said. We are an innovation committee, so let's adapt and change the festival to a hybrid event, some face-to-face and some online. It meant some major scrambling, reorganising speakers who, by the way, all wanted to come to Bendigo. We had to rearrange accommodation, bookings, restaurants, catering venues and so on. But come April, May, he was still around, this gentleman who we didn't want in town. And everything that was close to being settled, we had to look again. COVID overstayed his welcome and he wasn't going anywhere. Oops, we thought, we've got to give another version. We had to undertake at that time a 3rd iteration of this 5-day event and put everything online and virtual. Bring in the wonderful AV people from Bendigo, Power AV, interviewers, Bendigo Council, event management team, script writers, live streaming organisers and the rest. And very few of us had much experience in this. But what was delivered? The theme could not have been better, the theme of optimism through innovation. As all speakers and participants we asked to participate desperately also wanted to tell Aussies that we can all innovate, take up any challenge and overcome any adversity at any time. Every one of our participants jumped at the opportunity to be involved and jumped at that opportunity freely. The variety of topics, the speakers, with politicians, industry leaders, educators, economists, students, innovators, local businesses, internationals, was something Bendigo had never seen before gathered in this one area. And although being on all virtual, they all felt as though they were in Bendigo. It was wonderful to get acknowledgement from our politicians in a bipartisan way, and from both sides, all congratulating Bendigo and the festival. The Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, Michael McCormick, the Leader of the Opposition, Anthony Albanese, and his Deputy, Tanya Plibersek, ministers from the Victorian Government, local members, all telling us, and members from other areas, all telling us why they are optimistic and why Australia should stay optimistic. The leaders of industry, the Australian Space Agency, who'd never been around Bendigo before, educators, STEM experts in the universities, and sports people, and world travellers with amazing stories of failure and success. We had many successes. It was a fantastic festival and one to be proud of. We had 5,000 sessions booked, 90 plus speakers, 40 sessions, as well as international online visitors. And it was a real engagement in our Voices of Optimism campaign for the greater city of Bendigo. Partners with the festival who all believed in our purpose. And as I mentioned earlier, every speaker throwing themselves into the event willingly, and companies as well, asking us to be involved. You know, we have companies now in corporate Australia asking us to be involved next year. Isn't that wonderful? They wanted to align their values and principles with what the festival articulates. One of the most rewarding successes we have had is confirming this statement to be true for everyone. If you say you can, you will. And we know, and the feedback has been given, that we lifted many, many people's aspirations and their spirits. Our small team was faced early on with what seemed to be an insurmountable challenge to deliver the program. But by facing it head on, using our innate innovation capabilities, we overcame the challenges. And doing it, by the way, with a lot of laughter and a lot of smiling and a lot of hard work. Leadership by example is only one form of leadership, but by encouraging people to believe in themselves, along with a good dose of optimism, energises those around us and to stand tall and remind themselves why they do what they do and who they do it for. The online world is opening tremendous opportunities, and we should be looking forward to those. So next year, we've got to look at it again. What are we going to do? Well, we have plenty of ideas, but I'll let you know later. Not today, we'll let you know at a later time. You can't run a festival, you can't run any event without a team and without sponsorship and partners and so forth. And for a 5-day event, which turned out to be a 5-week event, we needed to have a team of people and partners around us that all had the same idea. We couldn't have done it, and I'd like to acknowledge some of those sponsors now. The City of Greater Bendigo, for their foresight in backing this festival for the last 10 years. The Digital Innovation Festival was a partner from Victoria, the state government, Victorian state government. The Bendigo Tech School under the leadership of Graham Wiggins was enormously an enormous contributor. The La Trobe University has always stood alongside us. The Goldfields Local Learnings and Employment Network with Anne Brosnan has always been there. The Australian Government and with Oz Industry promoting innovation and invention and can do. The Bendigo Manufacturing Group and of course the wonderful, wonderful Centre for Optimism, as I mentioned earlier, under the leadership of Victor Perton. Victor's been an extraordinary partner in this event. I'd also like to acknowledge and particularly thank some of our session partners from the Bendigo Manufacturing Group. These people stood up and said, we want to be part of this. ASQ with Tim Bird, Bendigo Pottery and Rod Thompson, Australian Turntables, Food Mac and Echuca with Peter Marks, Keach and Brad Clark, a wonderful organisation in Bendigo, Barker Trailers and the guidance of Simon Meadows in Kyneton and Maryborough. Mandalay Resources out near Axdale, MSD Animal Health, Glenn Morrison's a representative there, Don KR in Castlemaine, and Boslow in Boslow Cognifer in Castlemaine as well. Have just been wonderful, wonderful supporters. And thank you, everyone. But I'd also finally like to especially thank 4 wonderful women who were the ones who really put the show on. They were a little bossy at times, but they did an extraordinary job. Alison McKenzie from the City of Greater Bendigo, along with Emma Nielsen, the wonderful Paulie Hubin and Laura Tangi were exceptional and went far and above and beyond to produce this event. We wouldn't have this event without those people, those wonderful women. And 2 young ladies from the Bendigo Tech School I want to mention also, Gemily Sweet and Casey Gray, who were the facilitators for the Tech Skills program and did an extraordinary job for such young, inexperienced minds. And our facilitators at the festival were extraordinary and first class and world class. Jonathan Ridnall and Alicia Verth North, I couldn't have asked for more. Thank you once again. It's been an honour. It's been a pleasure. Congratulations to everyone, and we'll see you next year.
Well, what did you think of you're a film star, Paul?
Oh, it's all good. Look, you try and speak from the heart, don't you? Sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you get the message across, and that's what it was. It's been an amazing time. I said earlier, Victor, we've got some, and for everybody who's listening, we've got some real movement in the background, and particularly around the manufacturing aspect of our drive this year, and with the PM's announcement just yesterday, we've had some calls that there might be some consideration from the government to look at this festival model being shared with others. So let's see where that goes. We won't make any promises just yet, but it's amazing when people stand tall together. And you know, we say Bendigo, but it's that whole region that's contributed here, and there's no reason why others don't. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. There's no reason why others can't do the same, and I'd love to think that we can talk to the Toowoomba's and the Ipswiches and those places in South Australia and Western Australia about doing something like this. It could be that movement that just says to people in regional centres, after such a long time of negative press about manufacturing in particular, just for people to say, no, we can do this. Just on that manufacturing thing, the perception of manufacturing was what was driving us. We've been told by the press time and time and time again that manufacturing was dying. And it's not. It's changing, and it's innovating, and it's adapting. The opportunities for kids now at school to get into the manufacturing enterprises. And enterprises don't just mean somebody on a factory floor. This is a perception of manufacturing. Whenever you see a photo of a manufacturing body or an industry, you'll nearly always see somebody with a welder in their hand or standing in a production line. They don't mention the girls and the people at the front desk, or the accountants, or the designers, or the administrators. You know, the people who are handling the logistics of freight and transport. All of those people that make up a manufacturing enterprise are the ones where the jobs are being created. What's happening on the factory floor is changing into automation and digitisation, what they call servitisation. And the jobs there are crying, the companies are crying out for trained and skilled people. That's where the opportunities are. We're going through a metamorphosis of old engineering, in particular in our game, old engineering into new engineering. And it doesn't mean there's going to be jobs lost, it means that jobs are going to be created. And at the end of the day, in very simple terms, the Australian-made brand is actually stronger than ever. It is respected all around the world, and particularly in engineering and sciences, and everything else you can think of. But the Australian-made brand has an opportunity right now to bring all of these sectors to come together and put ourselves out to the world and compete globally. As the world becomes more automated and digitised, we are actually becoming closer together competitively. That advantage that some countries have had in the past of low wages is not going to be there. It's not going to happen. So it's coming closer and closer. And the sooner we stand up and say, yes, we can do that, the better. We've got all the skills, we've got all the education capabilities, we've got all of the desire, and regional Australia and even these small communities, you know, that have been dying over the years can be reinvigorated because of the digital world. And I just ask people and implore people to have a look at what's possible, what Australia is doing in the agricultural sector. It's mind-blowing. And we can take that to the rest of the world and take our skills. So it is so positive for manufacturing, for agri-foods or whatever, to take on what seems a big challenge, but actually it's just moving along, adapting and innovating. People talk to me about innovating. I get a bit sick of hearing the word, to tell you the truth. Yeah, people apply a science to it. I reckon if you're putting something in a paper bag instead of a plastic bag, you've innovated. That's as simple as that is for me. If you've made a product or a process better for yourself, well, that's innovation. Years ago, the innovation was driven by price. So we had all the stuff coming from overseas and China and the rest of it. Well, I looked at that and said, well, actually, that's innovating. We didn't like how they do it because they weren't paying their people. But there was actually innovation. They entered the market on price. So what? We've got to come up with smarter stuff. The Australian-made brand is very, very, very strong, and the sooner our press get hold of it and the sooner they change their mind and be optimistic about that, the sooner kids will learn and understand that there's opportunities. And the reason behind us connecting education and manufacturing was, as I mentioned in that video, they're inextricably linked. For the future, our kids need to be educated in what the manufacturers need. But those manufacturers, as I say, need the people to answer the phones, the salesmen, the installers in engineering and all of those things. It's not just the people on the factory floor. If we can change that perception, the kids will understand how good it is. And I can't help but think of a comment Angela Merkel made last year when she was asked about the German economy and why it's always so strong, why they're so good. What she says was, we make things. We just make things and people keep buying them. So we keep making them. So sorry to get on my soapbox there, everybody, but it is pretty simple. We can do it if we want to do it. And the extension of that, that quote where we say, if we say we can, we will. The opposite of that is if we say we can't, we won't. And I don't like that one. I don't like that one at all. I kicked that right in the backside, that one. So come on, let's have a crack at this. You're running out on the footy ground. At the start of the season in footy, you don't think you don't aim to be on the bottom of the ladder. You just don't do that. You don't think like that. Every game you run out into before you get on the ground, well, you're going to think you're going to win this. So we just got to adopt that very simplistic attitude for me. We can do it. Let's have a crack at it.
I love the optimism that I've heard today. I've also sort of met Paul a little bit through the Entrepreneurs Program. His business is involved with that, and you know, we're happy to help SMEs in Bendigo. If not me, I specialise in the mining or Metz-Oga industries, but if I can introduce you to people within the program that are in other industries as well. So we've, you know, ag, food, tech, all of that. So yeah, and there's some amazing positive companies. I sort of feel like the people that I'm working with are really, and I think it's partly why they're in the program, is because they want to grow and they're really positive. So yeah, we help people to grow, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about what happens in Bendigo over the next year. It sounds pretty exciting. I was lucky enough to come to Bendigo last year for personal reasons, and I look forward to visiting again soon. It's a beautiful, beautiful town. So thanks for today, and I look forward to learning more next year.
Peter Mulqueen, are we in San Francisco?
Yeah, not far from it. I'm in Mountain View, which is in Google's hometown. So I've been calling into it as many of these as I can, finishing work around 5 o'clock and then jumping straight online. It's been so good to watch, and it kind of answered my question about whether you know, how much is happening in Bendigo, how big's the community, all that kind of stuff. And I've been super impressed, and from an optimism point of view, like it's made me hellishly optimistic about the future of things that are happening in Bendigo. And at some point in a few years' time, I hope to be back there and amongst all of you. The only request I'd make is that somehow we manage to keep the group together and network, be it LinkedIn, be it Facebook, whatever. Andrew was saying that there's a Facebook group which I'll get a part of. Yeah, I hope to connect with all of you in the future. And congrats, Paul. It's pretty impressive. It's been fun.
Thanks, Vic. And hey, Victor, how about we hear from Bala?
I worked as innovation manager for a number of years. This is a real good opportunity after traveling around the world for 30 years. I'm settled in Bendigo. I was working with the Keach as innovation manager, and we developed many products to send it around the world. I really appreciate Paul's optimism. Every session was very good and motivating to the younger generation. And we are coming to the age of giving out something. This is a real good opportunity for youngsters to look forward. Thank you, Paul.
Now, Tanya, you're specially dressed in orange. You have to speak.
Yeah, hello everybody. So I'm not in Bendigo. I don't know if I'm the outlier here, but I'm in Gippsland. So I feel a little jealous of all this optimism and innovation in Bendigo, because in Latrobe Valley, where I am, we have been deemed the innovation zone of Australia and Victoria. So I feel like just transporting you all and bringing you down here to create this joy and optimism and recovery, you know, through innovation and invention, because this is exactly what our region needs. And if anybody knows Latrobe Valley, you know that we've had our fair of challenges and we've got a long way to go. And we've had the Hazelwood mine fire, and then the closure of the coal mine, and we're trying to transition away from that real coal-faced industry. So yeah, I think this has been such an inspiring conversation. I wish I'd got into more of the sessions. I haven't been able to, but, and I was like similar to somebody earlier that is juggling children from home and working and all the fun stuff that the pandemic has brought to our lives. But I've absolutely loved listening to you all and can't wait to connect more with you about how we could perhaps use your model and bring something really exciting and energetic to Latrobe Valley. So it's great to meet you all, and I've loved hearing about the optimism. It's made me optimistic. So thank you. It's what I needed. I needed my bucket filled. So it's really nice to hear that.
We call it filling the well of optimism. Rob Masters has got to head away. Rob, did you want to say anything before you head away?
I just would like to congratulate everyone on the session, every participant, and just listening to everyone and the optimism that they've got is a reflection of what Bendigo has brought to bear on this whole manufacturing sector, towns, the enthusiasm of the CEO towards getting behind this. Paul, it's a great achievement for everyone involved. So congratulations. And as you said earlier, or someone said earlier, let's take this to the world and let's take it to the Latrobe Valley. Tanya, I think that would be marvellous, but I would love to see this translated into every manufacturing city in regional Australia. That's the first ambition, and then we'll take it to the world. All the best. Thank you.
Well, Rob, Tanya qualifies because she's wearing orange. She's in. Yellow's the only other colour. Now, I think the only person who hasn't spoken is Andrew. So it's you, and then Alison, you're going to take it away to close down.
Thanks, Victor, and hi everyone. I must say it's been a fantastic month of such a diverse range of speakers and intellectual content, and just to see around the virtual program, such a rich, a diverse amount of content and material and speakers and inspiration. I think if we just had an innovation festival in its own right, without the optimism theme, I don't think it would have quite met the mark for this year. But I'm pleased to say that I think it was such a great amalgamation between the Center of Optimism with yourself, Victor, leading the charge as that icing of the cake, around the principal festival program. And as you said, Chappie, with us at Latrobe, we've always been a proud supporter because we believe sincerely in the regional innovation ecosystem. And as what Peter had mentioned, we're doing quite a bit in the startup ecosystem space. And it's just been great to really see where the festival program has led to at this point with this year. So I just want to end off to say, is it possible that we could somehow manufacture the doses of optimism throughout this entire month to somehow franchise, bottle that, and sell that nationally and overseas? And perhaps we could have Peter as our sales agent up in California, in the US, to take it to the world.
Yeah, I'll give it a crack.
Alison, take it away. Close us down. Last words of the festival, Alison McKenzie.
Thank you, Victor. I'm not sure why I get that privilege, but we appreciate. I'm feeling quite humbled at the moment. It's been a heck of a journey, but with many thanks to all of our sponsors and our contributors, and to Paul and Tanya. Certainly, we'd love to encourage and continue the discussions. But really, Victor, we are very, very grateful to you, and I agree with your comments, Andrew, in terms of the festival without the optimistic element would have been nowhere near as successful. It was something that was novel and something that was needed in these times. Peter, we enjoyed all of your comments coming through on the moderation feed, and we're thrilled with the feedback as well. So thank you to all, and Bala, the sponsors have come through for us. So we're grateful to contributors, to sponsors, and to key speakers, but most of all to the people who watched and made the festival such a success. So thank you, team. I'm about due for a coffee, and I've sent a note to Paul saying no more, Paul, no more discussion.
All right, guys. See you all soon.
Well done. Congratulations.
See you, everybody.